Hello, everybody. I am Derek Evry here, joined by the very lovely and talented Allie Goertz. Allie, say hello.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. It's going very, very well. Thank you so much for being here. So two things right off the bat. Number one, I'm a huge fan. Have been for a very, very long time. I am a fellow Simpsons is in my DNA uh, person. I've been
Yep,
following you since your Simpsons podcast.
amazing.
I uh, I have a bunch of tattoos. They are all family related. And this is my divorce tattoo.
Dignity. Don't
So
you know dignity when you see it? That's great.
thank you. And of course it's in the color of the Van Houtens
Oh,
because
that's so great.
yeah, you gotta. So you are among friends. And
Yay.
then and then
And Spatula City, I
and Spatula
recognize
City. This was the
your
other thing I was
shirts
going to bring up.
there.
So you are part of Weird Al lore.
Amazingly,
I
yes.
know. Talk about that. How'd you pull that one off?
I know. I figured if I was told as a middle school kid that you'd be part of like Weird Al lore, it would be being arrested for trying to go to his house or something. No, I'm lucky enough to have befriended the very talented Erica Pell and the dare I say, no offense, Eric, more talented Weird Al.
I think yeah,
And
that
so
qualifies.
I think Eric would agree, but equally talented in different ways, perhaps, but one is one is Weird Al. So I was very lucky. I have met Al a couple times in my life, and he's just as nice as you would ever hope. He's the one person that I just know cannot and will not ever be there will never be like a story about him that you're like, oh, I can't believe Al did that. Like he's uncancelable. You know
Right.
what I mean? He is just such that guy. He's just the nicest person on earth. And yeah, Eric was telling me about how he had this Weird Al movie that he was going to do, and I loved the short, and I was geeking out about it like 2 years before they started filming or whenever I heard about it. And when it was in production, I just slid into his DMs and I was like, can I come by set? Like I'll do like PA stuff, I'll get coffee orders, I'll clean, like whatever. He's like, honestly, like be an extra. That'd be so fun. And I was like, hell yes. And I've said this a couple times, but it really does make me laugh at myself very much. When I finally watched back the movie, um, I was saying to my friend Jonah, who's also in the movie, Jonah Ray, I was saying like, "Oh my God, they keep cutting to shots of me," and he was like, "Actually, they're cutting to Weird Al," because I was sat right behind Al in the scene. But wishful thinking.
Right.
But it was amazing. It was so cool. And I'm very excited to be a part of that amazing movie because it is so genuinely great. I would have been excited even if it wasn't great just to say that I got to be a part of it. But the fact that it's truly deeply funny and well written and full of heart and like just so silly is incredible.
Completely agree. And like the other thing is like when you do have that experience of kind of dipping your toes into a childhood dream, if not completely diving in. And speaking of diving in, we'll get into the diving into the album in a second. Um, when you are like approached with that situation, is there any part of you that is like there's no way that this is going to happen, and there, or are you just like gotta follow your nose and you just go for it like
I think I would go for it type of person. I think that I would rather be hoping that it's going to happen and excited that it's going to happen and possibly be really disappointed down the line than spend wasted time being really upset that my dreams might not come true and then I might be proven right. Like, what do I get from that? I get to say I was right about being sad? That sucks.
yeah.
Like, if I'm gonna be disappointed at the end, I wish that or I will be happiest if I spent more of that time leading up to it being happy, even if I may be a fool for thinking that it could have worked out.
I like that. It's a good sentiment. So definitely more of a go for your dreams kind of a person. Go big or go home empty handed. So
Or at
if
least
you
go middle,
just go
like,
middle, okay.
just
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 go
do
somewhere.
something.
Okay. Don't be stagnant.
At least you tried. Yeah.
There it is. So then my question is hypothetical. Um, if you had like a vision board, like my next big dream I need to conquer, like put it out in the universe right now, right here. What is it gonna be?
Oh gosh. I mean, I will say as much as I just said, like, go for it. Like, I do also get embarrassed very easily.
Right. Okay. Well,
And so to say out loud the things that you want, can be a little bit like, well, I don't know if I could actually pull it off, but privately, I would hope that I would. But I really would, if we're going like as big as you could possibly go,
yeah,
and not necessarily, I think that can happen. Sure, I want to collaborate with Paul McCartney. Like
dude.
that's the thing. That's what I would want. If
Literally,
anything in the world could happen, it would be that.
that's great. I
Why
think
not?
I think mine would be I would want to collab with Ben Folds.
Oh, dude, I love Ben Folds so much. That's one that I really, gosh, there was a time that I went to see him at House of Blues, and I was so excited because I love him very much. And God, Weird Al also has such a good like pastiche to him
Yeah,
that I think is so, so amazing. And it references The Simpsons. So that felt a little bit like, oh my God, this
yeah.
was made for
It's a
me
lot
because
of
I'm
planets
selfish.
lining up.
But Ben Folds was singing a song from Jesus Christ Superstar, which is my favorite musical, despite being a little card-carrying Satanist. And and I remember like being so charmed, but also so mad because he was like, I bet no one even knows what this is from. And I'm like, I do. Come on, just be my friend. Um, because it just feels like such a challenge. So yeah, I guess yeah, I'll add do a cover album of Jesus Christ Superstar with Ben Folds to my list after collaborate with Paul McCartney.
What if Paul McCartney and Ben Folds collabed together, and then you were on that?
Is it still Jesus Christ Superstar or have we
Yes,
moved away?
it's no, it's
Okay.
it's it's Jesus Christ Superstar, and I guess Ben Folds would be Judas,
Probably.
and yeah, I mean he'd have to be right.
I think that makes sense.
Who would you be?
Um, well, I mean, Judas is the meatiest part. Um,
That's the
it's
Tim
really
Minchin
good.
Tim Minchinist part.
Yes. I guess if it's my dream, I'll be Jesus.
Okay, there it is. So we are talking with Jesus Christ superstar herself, Allie Goertz. And speaking of being a superstar, you have pulled something out of your hat. A
Thanks for saying hat.
Yes, you have pulled something out of your hat. A 9-inch rabbit, if
Yes.
you will. And I let's talk about this. Peeled back. Um, a tribute to Nine Inch Nails. What the fuck? Why did you decide to pluck this from the stars and make it a reality? Because it's brilliant, first of all.
Oh, thank you.
The arrangements are all like as dream poppy and full and lavish as you would hope in a Nine
Oh,
Inch Nails tribute. And you still have those electronic elements that still kind of come in, but it's not as obviously like industrial as it could be. And I'm glad because obviously when you're doing a tribute record, you do want to pay homage and you want to pay respect to the original, but you also want to put your own stamp on it, and stamp you fucking did. It's so
thank you.
good. I was blown away. Obviously, I'm gonna be a little biased because I just love everything you do in general, but this is like 3 steps above like anything I've ever seen from you. Like a metamorphosis happened in your life,
Oh, thank you.
and it's
Yeah,
been projected onto this. Let's talk about it. What prompted this?
that means a lot to me. That honestly really does. Because this record has been 2 years in the making. And in addition to that, I have not done anything musically for about 9 years in a big way. I still will always, I play out live every once in a while, doing kind of my nerdy love songs. I have songs that I used to sing under the name Cosby Sweater, rest in
Right,
peace.
right.
And I don't remember why I changed that, but um, yeah, I every once in a while will hop on a show, usually just as a last minute thing. And I'll write a little thing here and there, but it just really hasn't been my focus for a really long time. But I've always wanted to get back to music. And I don't know, when I'm in long-term relationships, I feel like the first thing that kind of goes out the window when it comes to what am I going to give up to make time for another person that I'm sharing my life with, it unfortunately tends to be music. And so when my relationship started to end, I naturally had that kind of pull towards like, oh, I have that kind of excitement again to get into music again. And that was aligning with hearing Nine Inch Nails for the very first time, at least cognizantly.
Mhm.
I had heard them one time as the Nine Inch Nails on the Twin Peaks Return, which I just did not know who that band was. And I was like, who the hell is the Nine Inch Nails? And I was like, David Lynch likes them. This happens to be one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen. This is crazy. But then that was kind of that. I kind of left it in Twin Peaks world. I didn't really, listen to it with purpose. But then as I was going through this kind of darker chapter of going through a bad breakup and my cat was dying and just had all these things that were kind of just weighing and weighing and weighing on me, I found Nine Inch Nails. And I really had never listened to music like that before. And I was just so blown away and needed it so much. It was so cathartic and so like I didn't know music could sound like this, let alone that it's been sounding like this since the 80s. Like I did not know this world existed. Oh my God. And I got obsessed. And through my obsession, I really like found a lot of meaning and wanted to kind of share my love of Nine Inch Nails with people like my mom or people that I thought, like, how do I get them to understand how good this is, knowing they'll never listen to music that sounds like this? And so I kind of thought, like, almost in a funny way at first, like, oh, I'll just do a couple little covers and I'll make it more palatable for them. And I just found that I loved making the covers so much that I couldn't stop. And eventually I said, let's just do an album. And through that process, I just learned so many new skills because I had to, because those songs, the originals, are so complicated and I don't know how to read music. I don't know how, like, I don't even really know the names of the guitar strings confidently. Everything I do is by ear. Um, I didn't even have like I recorded it from the beginning on GarageBand, and they don't even have the option to have numerous time signatures. So I wish I had recorded this, but I was counting along all the weird like alternating time signatures into a microphone like as best as I could just to lay down the tracks. And so for example, like March of the Pigs is like three counts of 7/8 and then one count of 8/8 and repeats until the chorus of 4/4. So it's just me singing along to 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and it's like that again and again and again. And I was like clapping on the parts that I needed to do the thing and I was going insane.
Did you
um
loop it at least, or did you like literally sit there and just record it over and over and over and over and
I
over
looped
again?
it, thank God. But
Okay, good.
it wasn't perfect. I only
Well,
have the metronome of my mind.
hey, that's good
And
enough.
so,
That's in the pocket. You know what I mean?
but it was a very isolating experience that I needed, and it was great. Of kind of like starting to lay down these tracks. But I really was excited about it. I was loving music for the first time in a really long time. And then I met up with my old Cosby Sweater producer, Adam Bush. Adam is really talented as a many things, actually. I mean, people probably know him as Warren Mears from Buffy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really talented actor and director and musician himself. But the reason that I wanted to theoretically work with Adam is because he's very good at keeping me honest and earnest. And he's not like he's kind of Rick Rubin-esque. He's like very he'll hear me kind of hiding behind humor, or he'll hear me not really giving it my all. Um, when it comes to like, I'm kind of being bashful, or I'm not pushing myself, and he'll really be like, try it, try being a little bit more real about this. And so I was going to do the album completely alone, but he talked to me about like, I feel like I could help you connect to the right people. I know people that play strings and could help maybe with arranging. And so that's how I got in touch with the very talented Jonathan Dinerstein, and then his amazingly talented wife, Rebecca Ward. So John and Becky and I met and co-arranged the strings together, which was really cool because I had never done anything like that before, especially someone who doesn't like read music. I was like, how do I give notes on strings? Like, and
Yeah, like are you just like, can you make it like wispier, or like, or are you just
Uh,
like,
what I did, well, at first I was kind of like, I don't know how to give feedback on this. And so what I did was I would take, and everything they ever gave me was always awesome. But I was really particular about some of the things that I wanted. And I kind of just wanted to be, I wanted it to sound exactly how I wanted it in my head, knowing that if they come up with something better, that's the best idea. That's the idea that wins. But I have some recordings of this. I would take their recording and I upload it into Logic or GarageBand, and I would sing on top of it. And so I would just have like all these different layers of me singing the violin part. And it kind of sounds like, doo-woppy, like
yeah,
me doing my impression of a violin. And that kind of became the norm of like, sometimes I would even start with that of like, okay, here's kind of what I think the violin could sound like. And eventually, because I got better at learning how to be a partner in those ways, I started playing it on the piano, and then it was hopefully a little bit easier to transpose. But they were an awesome collaboration, and I was really grateful that they were so like cool with me, this person who knows nothing about their craft but has a very specific idea of what they want. That's not exactly an easy person to work with. And at the same time, I think we both had a ton of fun because from my end, I'm like, wow, you guys are so technically advanced and talented, and just I'm so blown away by the things that you guys are coming up with. And then, they also gave me very lovely feedback of like, I don't really get how you're doing this as someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Like, this is kind of cool. You're coming up with some ideas that we wouldn't think to come up with, and we're the classically trained guys. And so that was a really fun, amazing collaboration. But anyway, I could keep talking about all the specifics forever, so I'll stop it from there, and then I'll let you pivot.
no, I mean, like, you can feel free to get as detailed and specific as you want, and if if you want to like get any kind of like production background stuff out there, like, do it. That being said, I did want to talk about the string arrangements. Not just in the realm of they're phenomenal, because of course they are, but the just like the how do I put this? The atmospheric kind of like nature of it. The soundscapey kind of vibe, the texture that they provide, definitely lends itself and adds more of a almost like sympathetically creepy element to the music.
Yeah.
And I don't know how like disturbed you were trying to get with some of these songs, but like you did a little bit. Like, it's
Thank you.
burgeoning on creepy in some, like, in the most amazing ways. None
No,
of these are
I'm
insults.
no, I'm glad. I
Cool.
when you're making a Nine Inch Nails cover album, like I feel like you mentioned before, like if you're going to do a tribute to somebody, there has to be some reason you're choosing to do it. Like we're not doing karaoke. Like we're hearing like a straight cover. I don't really get why you're doing it. Um at the same time, there are certain aspects of the original music that you really want to keep. And for me, the thing I really wanted to keep was the emotional content. And I really wanted these songs to make people still tap into the feelings that I feel when I hear the originals. I just wanted to approach it from my own perspective. And um, it was important to, even though I'm like, quote unquote, peeling back some of these layers, I still want it to sound like they are there. They're just being used differently, or they're being played on a different instrument. And Becky, the violinist, alongside John, her husband, were so good at kind of brainstorming like what are some different instruments that I have that could even do that. Like I don't know the name of it, but there's she had her main kind of violin fiddle type thing.
Mhm.
But then she also had this really cool violin that sounds almost like a cello, and so it's much lower, but it's still kind of smaller. I think I have to ask her what it's called. But it had this like really spooky sound, and
Was it like a viola or?
It's something I hadn't heard the name of before.
Okay.
But she had this weird, cool little instrument. And I'm totally speaking out of turn here, but like she just was very creative about what types of sounds that she could get on the violin. And that was something that they really did a lot of on, and you could hear that on March of the Pigs a lot. They really are going for texture, in addition to, pretty strings and melodies. Like they are really giving a lot of that like atmospheric quality, because I wanted the album to have a good mixture of electronic, robotic, fake, because everything else on the album is me on my little keyboard with my plugins, for the most part, or my guitar. But then I really wanted there to be this like life force from the violins. And so it like Adam and I, when we were deciding to have violins on the album, really wanted to think of the whole thing as a movie. And that's actually what got me to go from I'm going to make this album alone to I'm going to make this with Adam. Was when I was talking to him about it, he was like, I think that this can be really cinematic and we could kind of treat this whole thing as almost one piece. And the one piece nature of it, like really treating it as it is an album, it is a play. Like I mentioned Jesus Christ Superstar before, and that actually was a huge inspiration for me in terms of like I love overtures. I really want there to be the closer motif at the beginning and throughout. And
Yeah.
I want to find ways that, like, I don't know how many people will clock it, but the bell sound that exists in Ruiner, which in the original song is like these big brass horn type of things, they almost sound like gargoyle sounds. Um, that that part mixed with the string part that's from Ruiner is brought back in We're in This Together Now. And it's subtle, but it's one of those things where I just really wanted everything to feel very connected and of one world. And so with the help of the strings, I just really think it really made my stuff, which I'm proud of, but I really think their contribution really made it that next level and helped me kind of evolve my sound a lot.
Oh yeah, like the one thing that the strings do that I think a lot of people don't use strings in this way is they end up kind of like let me kind of back up. Typically when people use strings, it's to kind of like texture things or just kind of pad stuff and just kind of be pretty twinkly bits in the upper register. But the way that you're using the strings is like a needle and thread to literally stitch together the pieces, which
I
is
like that a lot.
it's pretty dope. So
Awesome. Thank
hats
you.
off to you on that. Absolutely, and you are welcome. And thank you for recording this album, A, and B for being here, and C for answering the next two questions with any amount of time to think that you want.
Okay.
Um, the first question is going to be dumb.
Okay.
Okay. Scenario. Hypothetical. You're in a record store and you're locked in all night. And no one's going to be there until the morning to let you out. And
Oh,
you can't call anyone. All you can do is listen to music. What section are you going to
that's interesting.
first?
You mean like what genre?
What section of the record store? Yeah, what genre, basically. But
Ooh, that's hard. Well, I don't exactly know if everybody's categorizing things the same way, but whatever category is probably just rock, which would include like Beatles and David Bowie and Beach Boys.
okay,
And I don't know how specific of the genre we're getting into, but I'm sticking in my like Pet Sounds and Beatles and David Bowie. I don't know if Nine Inch Nails finds its way in there. I don't know if industrial is its own section. I've gone to record stores where they are just like there's jazz and there's hip hop and there's rock.
right.
And I like all those genres. But I guess that's a safe answer. That's just about everything I like is in the very vague genre of
Okay,
rock.
rock. Second question, slightly more important, um, slightly less dumb. What is your all-time favorite original movie soundtrack to listen to just for the songs, not because of the movie? For example, I don't love the movie Angus, but the soundtrack
Right.
to Angus is phenomenal. It's my favorite movie soundtrack of all time. Um,
Are we counting scores or are we just doing
it can
soundtracks?
be scores.
Okay.
I feel like scores might be cheating a
Scores
little
cheating.
bit, just because of there's people like Danny Elfman and John Williams, and it's like you can't you can't pick between those children. There's so
Right.
many.
Yeah.
So
Well, because I was gonna say, like, I mentioned that I didn't know Nine Inch Nails before this album, really.
mhm.
But I loved Trent Reznor, and I did not know that they were related.
Okay.
I did not know Trent Reznor was Nine Inch Nails, which is insane. But I listen to the Social Network score just about every single day. It is just the perfect writing. Um, Soundtrack. It's just so good to have in the background. And it's very funny that I'd been listening to that for years and years and years before I even knew, like, oh, that's my guy. And that is one of the reasons that I wanted to ultimately have strings on the album, is because, like, his score work is just so beautiful. And his score work really influenced the album, which sounds very obvious, but maybe is worth saying. But soundtrack in general, um, that's a good question. I mean, I also think it's probably cheating to say like that thing you do, because that like kind of
Yeah.
is that. Um,
So good.
I yeah, I mean, well, here's a shitty movie with a good soundtrack that won an award for it is Garden State. Garden State
Oh,
does
okay.
have lots of variety of like uh you know it kind of crosses all these different genres. It has like Only Living Boy New York and just fun little electronic stuff. But I also actually I do have a favorite soundtrack, and it is Rushmore.
Okay.
And I also love the movie, but that has Oh Yoko, and it has like a bunch of great little jazz numbers. And it's like pretty eclectic. It has like the Wes Anderson scores are all pretty good, and a pretty good introduction to music for people that don't really know music that much. Like
Yeah.
Royal Tenenbaums is a good soundtrack with
Life
like Beat on the
Aquatic.
Brat.
Life
Life
Aquatic
Aquatic is
soundtrack is
great.
so good.
I mean, yeah, my goal is to make music that is in movies, so a good soundtrack goes a long way.
Well, all right. Peeled back, I definitely feel like there are at least three or four contenders that can be used for placement, whether it's TV, movies, trailers, anything like that.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and I don't have any connections in those worlds, but if you do, definitely use them, because you need to have all of this needs to be everywhere. Um,
Thank you.
but absolutely, but the cinematic nature of this tribute album definitely, like it's just it's begging to be used in something.
Oh, thank
um
you.
yeah, of course. And I could probably compliment you for another 2 hours, but I won't. I will let
Well,
you get
I'm
on
in
with
no
your
rush,
day.
especially if it's compliments. If it's criticism, I do have to go, but if it's compliments,
See, let me tell you everything that's wrong about what you just said. But
well,
I'll
I
tell
actually
but I'll tell it to your pretty face.
I am curious if I can ask someone, because I the album is at the time of recording this, the album's not out yet at
Yep.
the time of that we are recording this, and so the amount of people who have heard it is quite small. So for me, it's very exciting to talk to someone who's listened to it, but also has a musical review background. And I'm looking at
Yeah.
all your guitars, like you're somebody who knows your shit. Um,
I do have many instruments. Yes.
one thing I do want to talk about briefly
Yeah.
is just the song choice selection, because that was really
Please.
tricky.
Oh my god. I
And
completely yes, I'm so sorry. I literally had I was going to ask you two questions. One of them was, which one did you cover first?
Great
Uh,
question.
and then like what led, because I know you said you just like did a few at first, and then
Yeah.
eventually you were like, let's just do a whole record. But what was the first one? And then also my other question was going to be like, why was this order so important to you? I'm so sorry.
And the order is so
I'm
important to me.
very
Um,
professional at this, by the way. Did you know?
well, I did, like, you asked me one question and I spent 15 minutes answering it. So I get that it's hard to pin me down here. But
Yeah.
um, the first song I ever did is going to be released as a B-side, which is only available to Kickstarter backers at this time. But it was Every Day Is Exactly the Same, which is a song that most Nine Inch Nails fans, if you only were a fan for a while, don't even know, because it came out a little bit later. I think it's on with Teeth. But I love that song. I think it's great. It already tapped into some of the stuff that I wanted to do with my own music. Um, it's just beautiful, and I really related to the lyrics. And so it was just a synth pop cover of Every Day Is Exactly the Same. I loved it. Ultimately, it didn't suit what I was going for. And that's kind of what a lot of this project was I have songs that I love, but they're also very different from anything I know how to do musically. And so I would just do one verse and one chorus of each song that I tried just to see, can I even do this? Because some songs, they just don't, at least I couldn't figure it out. They don't work as covers for me. And my cover of Reptile on the album is easily far and above the most different from the source material. But my earlier covers of Reptile were the most similar. And like I had like a 2 minute long introduction with no lyrics, and it's just very grating and it's aggressive and it's violent. And it's just like, because that's what I like about Reptile. But then at like 4 in the morning, before I flew out to New Orleans to record a lot of the vocals, I had this like shower thought of what if it was actually really sweet and beautiful. And I just started singing the new melody in my head, and I tracked it that night at like 4 in the morning. And that's the only recording that is from like an old microphone before I like flew out and like did my stuff. And I never changed it because it was like tired and raw and emotional. And I was like, we're keeping that one. And all of those choices were just very like based on let's just see if it works. Let's just try it. And some of the songs didn't stick. Other ones I was changing up until the very last moment. For example, We're in This Together Now is one of my very favorite Nine Inch Nails songs, but it's already beautiful. So how do you do anything with that?
Right.
And I really struggled for a long time. I kept trying to push my voice the way that he does because that is what works on that song for me, but it doesn't work in my voice. And I recorded all the strings and all the different instruments, and I just never felt like it was good. Everyone kept telling me that I'm working with, it is good, it is good, we promise it's good. I'm like, it's not good. And then I lowered it, including the strings, digitally lowered everything. And that's a risky move. But I re-recorded it last minute, and then I got to to me a drastically better song because I was able to like push it at the last minute, and it was now being recorded a year after the first one was. So I've gotten a lot stronger in my ability to record stuff. And I was making those types of changes down to the wire, including having the song Wish on the album.
Mm-hmm.
Wish for a long time, which is now how we close the album. It is very much a statement of like, here's what we're doing at the end. This is the bookend of the closer motif. Um, we even told our mixer, like, don't mix that one. Like, there's no point. And he mixed it because he didn't get the email that said don't mix it. And so after Adam and I are going through everything, we're like, okay, well, I guess let's just listen to it. And we're like, holy shit, that sounds great. And I hadn't listened to the my own recording of it in months and months and months because I had already decided like it's not good enough for the album. I
Mm-hmm.
recorded it so early. I've evolved as the style so much that it's not working anymore. And then I was like, yeah, I was wrong. This is great. And actually, it needs to end this way, which means it needs to start with Closer
Yeah.
because it was either going to be the first song or the last song. And once we did Closer as the first song, I was like, I always knew Ruiner would be second no matter what because it's the most Nine Inch Nailsy, but it's also its own little weird world. And it's such a good, you didn't know that I could sound like this song. And I really, I really wanted it up there early.
It's my favorite on the record.
I'm so glad.
Yep.
I'm so
Yeah.
proud of it.
Yeah. It's great.
And then, so I was excited to start with Closer first because one, it's called Closer, and there's an irony to that. But also, it's the song everybody knows. And I thought, like, if I start with the song everybody knows, that implies that it could get better from here. And that's exciting. And so I was really stoked on that. And then we do Ruiner. And then I laughed out loud when I had the decision to have Big Man with the Gun be third because I just thought it was really bold and really a way to say, like, I just so you know, I could be making this whole thing funny if I wanted to. And I'm showing great restraint, but I'm going to give you a taste of what this could be. And I'm still going to make it beautiful and I'm still going to take it seriously, but that's what makes it funny. And I just was so proud of that. And then after that, I'm like, okay, but back to business. You know, Head Like a Hole, which I've turned into a waltz. Like all these songs that follow just are meant to tell a story of first and foremost, like, here's what we're doing. Like, we're giving you five very different songs at the beginning. And then it's really about like, but let's go even deeper and darker and weirder and heavier. And like by the time we reach the becoming, I have in my eyes of the story like I'm fully down the spiral. Like I have fallen in. I am Nine Inch Nails. I am becoming. And
Yeah.
like that's where I'm like really singing in a way that's like pushed and heavy and I'm raw and it's really intense. And then it really is meant to kind of follow the downward spiral story of the original record.
Yeah.
And then it comes out in this like, but I'm reborn and I'm something new and I'm better now and I've gotten over my breakup and I've honored my dead cat in the video. Reptile is actually about Ginsburg, my old cat.
Aw.
Yeah, I think of her every time I sing it. She is my precious whore. But
I feel that.
right?
I have
Um,
several of those. I have a Boo Boo Kitty Fuck.
oh,
So I have a movie tattoo, and then I had a cat named Nibbler. So
oh, that's so cute.
yeah.
Oh, I love Nibbler. But yeah, so the whole album shape made a lot of sense. There were lots of ways that we could do it, but ultimately I think it's we came up with something that we felt was pretty impenetrable for what we were trying to do.
My computer keeps giving you a thumbs up. I don't know why.
I'll take it. Any praise I could get.
I mean, it'll do this. I think, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
it does that too.
That's fun.
Isn't that cool? Thanks, Apple. Do I get it? Oh, that's
Wow,
cool.
fireworks. Love it.
Wow. It was just the fourth. So, whew. Um. Okay, so before we wrap this up, I did want to
As you could tell, I can talk forever, so
no,
don't.
no. I did really want to ask you about like Simpsons podcast
Yeah.
stuff. What's going on with that?
So our very final episode was with Matt Groening himself,
Mm-hmm.
and that was very exciting. It was the first podcast he ever did. I think we beat Marin, and
Yeah,
yeah, it was great. We have no plan, Julia, my co-host and I.
Julia
We
Prescott.
Julie Prescott, shout out, Simpsons writer herself.
Yes.
Yeah, she and I had such a fun time doing that podcast, and it lasted for a couple of years, and several years really. And we did two versions of it. We did Everything's Coming Up Simpsons slash Everything's Coming Up podcast, depending on when you started.
Right.
And then we did Round Springfield, which was interviews with people that worked on the show. And that was a limited series. I don't know how many episodes it was, but it wasn't too long. And we closed it out with Matt, and then we said smell you later.
Yeah.
So we have that to look back on fondly. During the pandemic, I know that we were talking about doing some other show. And I think that the writer's strike ended up happening when we were about to do it. And it was going to be a show that was like, what was it going to be called? I forget, but it was going to be something where it was like all these shows that were brought back after being canceled. So that would
Mm-hmm.
have included like Futurama and Mission Hill and like just shows that I think it's called They're Back. And we were
Okay.
going to do like our Simpsons podcast style, but of shows that were returning. And we would talk to the creators and people that were on the show. But I think the strike made it so that we weren't able to do that when we wanted, and then we both got busy.
Right. That
But maybe
happens.
one day we'll do another podcast.
That's cool. That's cool, cool, cool. All right. So I think that's gonna do it for the interview. But I want to thank you so much
Of
for being
course.
here. I can't possibly tell you any more times how good Peeled Back is.
Oh, I'm so
Um,
glad you think so.
of course. So everyone, it's out this Tuesday, July 9th. If this video is out before that, then it'll be out in the future. And if this video is out then or after, then it's already out. Go get it. Allie Goertz, anything you want to say before we say goodbye?
No, smell you later.
Smell you later. Thank you so much. Take care.